Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to post-episode issues, post-episode recaps. This is for Better Call Saul, Season 1, the season finale, Episode 10, and it is about Marco. Or that's the episode title, but it was a lot of being about Marco. And we didn't get any Cinnabon Saul like I hoped or I had thought, but we've got maybe one of the best monologues I've heard in a long time on television, maybe since Tyrion on Season 4.
Trial.
Yeah, since the trial with Tyrion. This was one of my favorite monologues since that moment. But definitely Bob Odenkirk, for me, his finest moment since the first episode when he just talks his way out of being shot by Tuco. Interesting way to end a season, not how we had all expected it to end necessarily. We didn't go back to anything. We didn't see Nacho again. I thought we might have.
No, my prediction was completely wrong.
Completely wrong.
Completely wrong.
I think we were all, and that's the thing about this. It gives us something we're not expecting, but still an amazing episode. Maybe one of my favorite of the season.
Yeah. No, I liked it.
And anyways, guys, if this is your first time tuning in, please share your thoughts of this episode of Better Call Saul, and in general, what you thought of the season, anything you thought about this season, and questions you have going into Season 2. And if you want to check out any of our stuff, you can check out issuesprogram.com, or please subscribe to the channel to see recaps of a lot of different programs coming out. And, oh, God, this is the season finale. I can't believe we made it through this whole season of Better Call Saul. And with me tonight, as always, is Joe Dirty Locks and Katie. Katie wants to know that she does not well wish any of you. That's not her. She didn't write that. She wishes you does not wish you well.
Joe stole my identity.
Yes. And Ren Renwood is
in first comment to break her ice.
Yeah, the broken ice. Ren Renwood is in the room, and so is IC Spots. Welcome. Ren says you can't go wrong with a song like Poke Salad Annie. That tells the story about a girl had it so bad and that her mama was working on a chain gang, and the plant that she's picking to feed her worthless family is poisoned. Delicious. And great music. And I thought that was one of the things. I
loved all the music. They played Season of the Witch too, yeah. Which was a very great song to hear.
The music in this episode was top notch, and just how it set the mood depending on where we were. If we were in Chicago, if we were in the middle of a 1950s crime movie where the bad guys are getting scams, like we had that little section of the episode, that was just
that was brilliant.
Visual candy. Yeah, it was eye candy. It was fucking great.
And like you could see like the casino sign and the diner sign, all that was really great.
Just Incredible does like to point out that we were correct about one thing from last week, that we were right on Hamlin saying that he likes Jimmy by calling him Charlie Hustle. He's still saying that he still makes him laugh. Hamlin gives a shit about Jimmy. He's stuck.
Everybody loves Jimmy.
Everyone
except Hustle reference. He says Pete Rose, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's a great baseball player.
Everybody loves Jimmy, as you said, except for Chuck. But it seems like Chuck even loves Jimmy a little bit.
Of course Chuck loves Jimmy. He's just, like Marco says, he's a stuck-up bastard.
He just also knows he's been in it with Jimmy
a
lot,
been in it.
Getting him out of his scrapes. So he has a reason to be skeptical to a point.
Absolutely. And hello, Rachel. Hello, IC. Hello, Ren. Welcome, everybody. What did you guys all think of this season finale of Better Call Saul? And did this get you hyped for the next season? Because I like where this left off. It left me wanting more and seeing the transformation. But I think that transformation everyone was talking about, Jimmy turning into Saul Goodman, I think we saw that within that monologue. That monologue was the creature coming out and taking over him. And only this team can make fucking Bingo so ominous. That was the most ominous Bingo in the history of the universe.
Hey, he made Bingo exciting.
It was. I was on the edge of my seat.
As in betrayal.
Brother.
I swear to God, if there's another goddamn B, we're in trouble here, people.
Has anybody heard of a Chicago sunroof before?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about the Chicago sunroof. Now you see, Chicago sunroof is when you climb up on a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you defecate through the sunroof.
Yep. A really white, a very, very nice car too. Holy shit.
White leather interior.
Children.
Tinted windows.
All inclusive.
And yeah, the children.
Slipping Jimmy's balls through the roof. Teabagging the BMW.
Oh.
That just it just kept getting better and better. Oh my gosh.
He's fucking furious. And so that is why I'm stuck in this hellhole, Arizona.
It was a nice window.
New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico.
So the intro of our episode, we close up on a bear, on a beer, and to me it looked like it said Hamlin's. You find out later that it doesn't, but the beer at first glance I was like, does Hamlin own a beer company? I had to rewind it for a second, and he's doing a trick. It's the guy that we've met before or saw earlier in the season, Slippin' Jimmy's partner from the trick that they pulled in the alleyway. Doing a trick with two idiots, kind of trying to basically do the taking the tablecloth off a table without knocking over the plates, but doing it with a $20 bill, and not knocking over the bottle cap, like trying to rip it underneath. And so two guys are like, it can't be done, and Marco says, oh, you guys are quitting. You can't quit. It can't be done. And he sets it up, and he does it, and he puts the $20 in his pocket. And he says it's a simple scam. It's just a simple scam, but it's actually set up for a bigger one, as he offers him the Rolex, and he'll say show him how to do the trick if they give him another $20. And then Jimmy shows up, and it's right after the time that we've seen the continuation of our timeline. And this is where we're seeing Jimmy right after Chuck bailed him out of jail. Jimmy shows up, and he says he just got out of jail, can't believe you made it. And he says, well, Chuck's outside. And he says, well, tell Chuck to get the broom out of his butt. It carries on this...
Wanted to have a drink, right.
Yeah, sit down and have a drink. And it carries on this theme in the episode of showing how this guy seems to be the only person that has a read.
It seems to be that he's a long time, not just a friend in his adulthood, but probably a friend he's had since childhood that knows exactly who Chucky is, probably knew Chucky as a young man, too, as a kid.
Absolutely.
That way to me.
No, me too. And that's why I'll say it right now, right here. If I seem a little down, I'm trying to get up a little bit. If I seem a little down, I bawled my eyes out when this dude died, Joe. Because do you know what? Do you know what I thought about? I thought about you, man. I don't want to lose you, dude. Don't die in an alleyway when we're pulling some scam or some shit. That was horrible.
At least wait till we're done, dude.
Don't pull a Marco. Please don't pull a Marco.
Don't pull a Marco. Don't fuck it up, dude.
I'll at least crawl over and put the wallet back in my pocket so the dude doesn't run away with the money.
Justin says, I apologize for being negative, but I thought we were going to get a bigger cliffhanger than leading into next season. You don't have to apologize for being negative. We want honest opinions here. Fuck you, Justin. What the fuck? You have an opinion, dude? What kind of show is this?
Listen, Justin, get the fuck out of this room. I don't want to hear your opinion.
No, I appreciate your opinion. Sorry if that was loud.
What was that?
Don't worry, Justin. I appreciated the episode, but I too thought it would go out with slightly a bigger bang. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate the episode and what they were doing, and I think setting into the next season. I think had they not known they were having a second season, this would have been a bigger bang ending this first season. But because they know they have us by the cojones, they're gonna drag us through a little bit. That's their style. They're gonna make us wait for that and wait for Hank to find out about Walt. We're not going to get it right away. We're not going to get it when we think we're going to get it.
Right.
And Ren says, after Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, I'm not used to such an uneventful season finale. And
correct. It did end on a very kind of just
death.
And it was. I mean, in a way, I think with the one ring to rule them all, there we had the birth of Saul.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Oh,
because no longer is he McGill, and he's not Slippin' Jimmy, and like he went back and he lived his 1 week as Slippin' Jimmy, and he said goodbye to his friend, and he got that ring, and he goes back. So he's no longer Slippin' Jimmy. That life wasn't for him. He's not McGill anymore. He didn't go in for the job. He's now Better Call. I'm never going to make that mistake again. I'm never going to let what held me back the first time hold me back again in off drives. So.
And Joe,
does it change if he takes the pinky ring off?
And if you remember, if you remember back in the episode where we first saw him pulling this scam with Marco, that same song, bum bum bum,
Smoke
is
on the
what
Water.
he's singing when he's on the Smoke on the Water is what he's singing when he's on the ground and he's pretending to be drunk, and that's when we hear Saul Goodman say, when the guy says, "What's your name?" He goes, "Saul Goodman." So when he's driving away and he's like, bum bum.
That's good. Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. And Katie, to go to what you were saying about the ring, I know you were kind of joking, but I think it's even more so that the question is more if Marco didn't die and Chuck didn't kill a part of Jimmy, would Saul Goodman exist? And I think and to go connect what you said a second ago to Joe, I think it's the fact that two people basically said the same thing to him back to back. Chuck said, "Listen, flipping Jimmy with a law degree is like a chimp with a machine gun." And then this guy says to him, "If you're a you're a lawyer, and if you're a lawyer not making bank, you're doing something wrong."
Right.
It's ultimately saying the same thing to him. You have all the power now. You're a god at this conning, and now as a lawyer, you can just make bank. Which what leads him into losing his mind over the fact that he gave up $1 million and the whole essential, this isn't my life. My life lays somewhere else.
Yep.
Anna Banana says, just got home to watch Saw. Wishing you guys a great show, and let's end the season with a bang. I miss it already. I already missed this show. I'm not sure if we ended with a bang. This was like after you bang for a while, and then that next time you bang, it still feels good, but it's not quite as impressive. If you know what I mean. It's called refractory period. So Chuck is here to take me to the airport. He's taking me to New Mexico to work in the mailroom. His friend Marco says, "You're going back to another prison. You just got out of jail." And he says, "Chuck got me off. I need to get together." And he goes, "You're slipping Jimmy." He responds, "You got it all. What do you have to change?" And he goes, "Don't you ever want to grow up?" Jimmy says, and he asks himself, "Do you want to spend the rest of your life on that stool?" And he kind of rags on him with his being like, "Come on, do you really want to do it? Do you want to live your rest of your life there, sitting on the stool?" And he kind of looks sad for a moment that his friend put him in that place, but you can tell. And he says, "Tell Chuckles one last thing to do. Let's do the watch thing. Let's do something big. One last thing." And he tell Chuck to go to hell. And he's just kind of pushing at him. He finally says, "Listen, Marco, this is my decision, not Chuck's. I'm taking an opportunity." And Marco says an interesting line. It's like watching Miles Davis give up the trumpet.
Yeah. What's that supposed to mean? The fuck is that supposed to mean?
Yeah, and it means
you're a master con artist. That's what it means. You're a master low-grade con artist.
He's an artist.
Or it's that same thing that Nacho saw in him earlier, that Mike sees in him, that Saul's not aware of it when he first meets him and just looks at him. "How did you know I'd do it?" "Yeah, I know. That's how I know you'd do it." Yeah. Everyone sees the twinkle in his eye.
You can tell by the way he's talking, the way he talks, the way he handles himself, the way he carries himself. You can really tell.
Yeah, he'd be good at this. But part of that comes to what Kim says to him later, with all the old people loving him and asking about him.
Well, here's the thing. The reason why it's called Con Man is because it's confidence man. And if people don't have they don't like you, they don't have confidence in you. So to be a successful confidence man, you have to be liked. You have to be charismatic. And that is Jimmy. He's a schmoozer. He's a talker. He's your buddy. He's your pal. He'll be there for you. He ain't gonna steer you wrong.
Yes, and we didn't get it yet, but I just want to mention it just in case I somehow missed in the notes. We got our first Belize thing tonight. He actually said the words talking about going to Belize, which is a big thing from. We could send Jesse, like send him to Belize, where you send Mike on a vacation. We're not sending Jesse to Belize, and I never want to hear that again. Okay, so we open up after our intro, our cold open. We open up to an amazing visual and they just keep adding this episode of Saul kind of sitting at the top of a graph that's on the staircase at Hamlin and McGill with this like yellow background, an office wide shot as we see Kim at the top at HHM walking down,
looking down on him,
and he's
from the Crystal Castle.
From the castle sky. And it's very, again, we've talked about this all season. This was one of those scenes that concentrated very heavy on the colors. Jimmy sits in a more yellow color, and he's kind of has a glow going on. She has this other kind of glow to her. It's very interestingly lit scene. And he said he's there to see Howard. She goes, "Can I ask for what?" He says, "I'm going there to give him the case, give it to HHM." And she says, He says, "Chuck doesn't want me here." She says, "I'm sorry." He asks her why she didn't tell him, and she says, "I didn't want you to hate your brother."
Aww.
Aw, so it seems like Hamlin's also upset about that. He says, "How'd you find out? Did Kim tell you?" And he says,
right away, because he doesn't. He finally knows, and it's right after he told Kim.
Yep.
So, that was to tell us that he did definitely tell Kim behind those closed doors.
Right.
It wasn't just like a pep talk or "I'll bribe you" or any kind of shit like that. It was definitely she knew.
Yeah, that's just them wanting to make sure that they dot their T's and cross their I's.
Right. They didn't want us to speculate as to whether or not she was really trying to fuck him over for her own personal gain. So.
But Jimmy says, I'll figure it out. And he also says he'll take care of any of the old folk that don't want to go over. And he brought them all the Sandpiper stuff. Hamlin says, "Listen, Jimmy, I didn't want it to go this way." Jimmy says, "I get it. Listen," and he goes, "I'm sorry I called you a pig fuck." Well, yeah, and there's just it's awkward. It's awkward for a moment, but Hamlin, just the way Hamlin's looking at him this whole scene, kind of smiling at him here, and then he goes, "Oh yeah," and then he goes and gives him the what was it, $20,000, and he says, "I'm sure you'll be happy to have this payday, and you'll make sure to get the rest of the money."
Yep.
Then it turns around to time for Jimmy to give Hamlin some stuff. He hands him Chuck's shopping list. He starts getting into everything he gets for him. He goes, "Well, I go to the motel and get ice. The ice is the most important thing. That's a bitch. Sometimes I steal it, but you could probably get someone to buy it." And he's staring, and the way Hamlin's looking at the list and looking.
It's huge. The list is huge. He doesn't even realize there's a second side to the page until Jimmy starts talking about the shit on the newspapers.
Yeah, make sure you get the Wall Street Journal. Make sure he gets that one delivered, but he needs someone to bring it in. And
right. And so when he flips, and then he flips over the list because he didn't see the papers. He flips it over and he's like, "Really? You've been doing all this for the last year?
Do you think
doing this every day?"
Do you guys think that part of it also is that as much as he's seen Chuck the way he is, he doesn't realize or didn't realize to this moment how bad he actually is? Because now I want to second guess everything about Hamlin, and I want to look back to the beginning of the season when he's arguing about Chuck's coming back to work. He's not as bad as you think, Jimmy. Like maybe hasn't seen it this. It's in his hand now, looking at everything that Jimmy's doing for him, and he's probably a little bit, "Oh my God, Chuck really is this bad." What you were saying.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's surprised by both Chuck and Jimmy.
Yeah, he's definitely surprised by Jimmy. He likes him. He always thinks he probably definitely thinks he's a little slimy, but that doesn't mean he doesn't like him. And
well, no slimier than any other lawyer he's ever worked with.
Right. And when he sees this list and the massive amount of things and everything, all the errands that got to be done to take care of his brother, and this entire list, I think it comes over him that, oh wow, Chuck it hasn't been just Chuck taking care of Jimmy. It's they both take care of each other. They both love he loves his brother. He's doing all this shit every day.
Because right at the end there he goes, he just looks like he just really appreciates the dedication he has. And right as Jimmy leaves, Hamlin goes, "Listen, Jimmy. Listen, Jimmy. I always liked you. Jimmy, remember. Jimmy. Remember, I always called you. Remember that time I called you Charlie Hustle? You remember that? You remember when I called you Charlie Hustle?
Yeah, I remember that. Come
over here. Let me pinch your cheek. I'm gonna pinch it.
It really sounded kind of condescending every time you said it, but I guess thanks.
But I guess you meant it. Ren says the newspapers he gets for Chuck, it's at like 6 a.m. Yeah, he's going out of his way for Chuck.
That's
probably
true love.
Bro love. It's his brother.
Bro love. Would you do that for Joe?
The bigger question is, would Joe do that for his older brother Bob? Would Joe be?
My speaker's going in.
Next, Joe goes, "Let's go on." So moving on. So as we get one last shot of the trash can from early on that Jimmy kicked in, Kim follows him downstairs as he says, "I'm sorry I yelled at you." And she gives him a hug, and And Jimmy gives him the whole, just for the people
Well,
that
here, you know what?
that was nice, no sex.
It deserves an answer. I'm sorry. I spaced out thinking about that question. It definitely deserves an answer. I'd hide a body for my brothers, but I don't know about 6 a.m. every
All of
fucking
your
day.
That's early. That's
Your
early.
okay, yes, okay. So,
That's every day, 6 a.m. Yeah, this is some heavy shit that I would do for them.
yeah, Liquid Ego, exactly. Hey, remember old buddy? Haha, remember Charlie Hustle? Remember buddy? Oh, come on, we're buddies, right? I'm cool. Hamlin's cool now, right?
High fives? Yeah.
high fives.
Fist bump?
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, now you know why I took that cake, Jimmy. I liked you.
Oh, I need to clarify too. I have never hidden a body for anybody.
Never. With all the stabs to the back of the heads and the hidden bodies.
We advocate for such behavior.
Yes.
Do not hide
And I'll swear to that I have never.
No one's under oath here in this podcast.
You didn't see me. That wasn't me.
Everything in this podcast is
You didn't
speculation.
see me. I didn't do nothing. You gotta get your eyes
Yeah.
checked.
Get your eyes checked, man. That wasn't me. I didn't touch it.
So she hugs him, and you get the more vibe of their relationship, and she says, "There's no crime in crying," and she kind of fucks with him a little bit, and she says, "Chuck sucks, and I'm sorry about this," and she says, "You're dealing with." She ultimately says, "You're dealing with this well," and we get the tagline that we heard from our preview for next week. He says, "The Dalai Lama's got nothing on me." That's his big line. So as we get a crossfade to really, when it comes down to it, probably the pinnacle, I guess you could say Marco's death was too, one of the pinnacles of the episode, and probably one of my favorite scenes on the series from beginning to end, the bingo scene.
Well,
So
it's you got to make the point too that the Dalai Lama's got nothing on him, and that's a big line for him, but he gives over that list to Pigfucker, and the shit that he says to her about her brother.
the nickname sticks, Katie.
Porch Dick. I may like him,
No,
but
I'm starting to like the
Okay.
Hamlin and what's her face.
Let's adjust
It's
it.
annoying to me.
Nice pig fucker.
nice
Aw.
Pigfucker. Okay.
Nice.
So, and the shit that he says to her, and the shit that he just basically says throughout the episode, he's absolutely fucking hurt and crushed about the shit that his brother said to him last week. But he's still brother. He's parked outside his fucking house at the end.
Yeah, that's important. Chuck doesn't know how to deal with that. Chuck
He
is like,
wants his brother's love and pride and
Admiration.
yeah, still.
So we crossfade to our bingo. And he's like, "Oh, 64, to be 64 again."
And then it pans out across the audience, and there's not a single person under the age of 64 in this room.
Oh.
And if there was, I'm sorry, ladies, gentlemen. I'm very sorry.
Then B32 or N32 is a one N mixed in there, like Nancy Reagan. Oh, Nancy Reagan.
I remember her. Huh?
Lola says, "Joe, you're hilarious."
Oh, thank you, Lola.
Yes, she doesn't believe you about the bodies.
Well,
we're watching.
That was a sarcastic.
Denials are hilarious.
We're watching you. So if you want to talk now, you'll have the strange voice. You can be like, "Lola."
Once in a land far away, there was a man.
There you go. You had
Nobody
it.
saw touch anything.
Perfect. So did he goes, B2 bomb, like a B2 bomber taking over a curb. If it was right next to us, we wouldn't even see it. And I love how every one of these numbers, I didn't get them all down because I was getting too focused on the scene. So some of it I have wrong, but each one, this is one of those episodes I can't wait to go back and rewatch.
Oh yeah, put together the numbers and then call it, text it, do something, everybody.
It's the numbers. Leave these numbers alone. So and then he goes, B4, still no winners, like before, well, not too long ago, like, and then it's just great visuals of as he's getting frustrated watching the balls go round and round, and this is where I wrote, oh my god, it's like they can make bingo so tense. This is the greatest game of bingo ever.
The suction of the machine too. And he could see that there was a blue ball getting re-sucked before.
Oh yeah, blue balls always get
And
sucked.
it was, and they were blue balls, and that's important to mention too, that the bees were blue balls,
Interesting. I did not notice this.
and they
guess
just
it's a guy
kept coming
thing.
up blue balls for him.
And there's some.
Boys and their blue balls.
So he looks and it's another B12, B as in betrayal, as in Benedict Arnold. And I love the progression. This was played so well by Bob Odenkirk. He talked a little bit about this during the week. There were a few stories that came out about it. He said this scene was the most, he said there's a monologue in this episode that was the most challenging acting I've ever done in my life. And it shows because this is a full-on acting crazy moment of starting one place and getting all the way to the fuck to the other place, and complete rage, sadness, fucking malaise. Amazing. We talk about it a lot, but to me this is some of the best work he's done all season in that scene. Crazy work by Odenkirk, and he's known on the show for long monologues, but this was just fucking incredible.
Yeah.
B as in betrayal. Betrayal, Joe.
Benedict Arnold.
He betrayed the United States. And he's like, wow, 4 in a row, 4 B's in a row. Can we shoot for bingo? Can someone get bingo? And I wrote ominous. B, another B, as in a birthday. Something about 7 prizes, 7 brothers.
Yeah, 7 brides for 7 brothers. Yeah.
And this is where he goes, if there's another B, we're going to have a real problem here.
And the faces in the crowd.
Did I also notice just at this moment that he has the Bob Barker microphone from Price is Right? I think we've got to talk about this before, but...
I loved that.
Yeah. Another B, as in, boy, this is batshit. In B, as in Belize. This is where he says Belize, great place. I heard, never going there, stuck in this godforsaken wasteland, where it's like living outside is like an easy bake oven over a soulless landscape. Ever see, and this is where he really starts to lose it. Ever see the eyes, God forbid, melanomas, go outside, your head will be a melanoma the size of a pineapple where your head used to be. Why the fuck do I live here? Excuse me, could you read a number? We hear a voice from the audience. Excuse me, could you read a number, please? B as in, I can't wait for Better Call Saul, second season. Oh, Lola has to go to work. We are sorry, Lola. Talk to you next time. Hopefully work isn't too fucking horrible for you. Have a good night. Thank you for checking out the show.
Good night.
B as in Bob Barker's microphone, Liquid Eagle, awesome. And so then he just keeps going, and then this is where we get into a B, another frickin' B, another frickin' B. Next number he looks and we see it, but we don't see what the number is, but we see him holding it in his hand before he looks at it. He looks at it and won't say it because we know it's another B. And this is where he gets into the whole thing Joe was talking about earlier. He asks, does anybody know what a Chicago sunroof is? And he goes, back home.
I don't want to know.
Everybody wants to know.
Yeah, in case you guys didn't know, we're going to tell you again. So, you know this guy Chet. Now, Chet was a big asshole and might have owed me money and might have slept with this is the first mention of one of the ex-wives. So it's very interesting.
Now we know that it was the ex-wife isn't the blonde chick, and it's someone from his past before he came to New Mexico.
Right. Someone he probably, knowing everything that we know about young Jimmy, someone he probably married like right out of high school or something like that. Like,
and he didn't say my second ex-wife or my first ex-wife. Right. He said my ex-wife.
Or it's just part of the bullshit story.
No, I don't think it's necessarily part of the bullshit story because he did do it to somebody. And we know that that's what he got pulled out of jail for.
Yes, absolutely. Good point. Very good point. Before some asshole that might have slept with my wife before she was my ex-wife. So as he's walking around, turning no details. I was wrong. One summer evening, 1 or 2 or 3, get the picture. He's like looking around. 1 or 2 or 3, you get the picture. I see this guy Chet. He's outside of Dairy Queen getting soft serve. Now, what kind of douchebag this guy is? I'm going to tell you what kind of douchebag he is. He has one of those BMWs, white BMWs with white interior. Now, I said I was drunk. Did I mention that I drunk? Now, I may or may not have defecated through a sunroof.
I allegedly did so.
Allegedly. I've defecated.
You might ask, what's the big deal about defecating through somebody's sunroof of their white BMW with their light leather interior?
Yeah, it wasn't my finest hour. I grade you that. This scene also kind of reminded me a little bit of the Chunk from Goonies. And then I puked on everybody. The worst thing I ever did was just his big speech to the Fratellis. I grade you. It wasn't my finest day, but that is a Chicago sunroof. It's a real thing. I did not want to make.
Do the kids have to be in the car for it to be a Chicago sunroof?
No, because he goes
think that
into
was an added bonus.
That's just an added bonus.
/ downfall.
That's a Chicago moonroof when you have the kids in there. That's the difference. Not many people know the difference between a sunroof. A moonroof is if you have the kids in the car.
Right. You don't want to do the moonroof. You don't want to do a Chicago moonroof.
No, definitely not. So you don't even want to hear about that. So he wanted soft serve. I gave it to him. Now, listen, I didn't know his kids were in the back of the car, but there were tinted windows, and I'll argue to this day that they were too dark for Illinois law. But somehow it's on me, I guess.
Yeah.
They just pinned it on me, scapegoating.
Who leaves their 2 kids in a car with the double parked?
Weren't they like Boy Scouts or something?
Yeah. Who leaves 2 Cub Scouts?
Cub Scouts. That's what it was.
In a car, double parked, alone, with the car running.
Oh, Big Kev, have a rockin' show, guys. Just wanted to drop a quick line before I smash this final table. Good fucking luck,
Nice.
And I'll be watching the show while I'm playing, then I'll listen to the show. By the way, I'm having a Game of Thrones butterfly in my belly waiting for this to fucking finally come out. P.S. guys, mother dick out! I love you, Kev, keeping the mother dick alive. Keep it alive, mother dick out. Mother dick out! So leave these Cub Scouts in the car with the engine running, but whatever. And then he goes like, Chuck is connected. I mean, connected like Cicero. Cicero was, I believe it was an 80s, maybe a 70s television law show with like one of the first badass cops that did what he wanted. It was Cicero. He was connected. I believe that. So,
like Kojak or...
Yeah, it was in that era.
Hammer.
Yeah. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, which I'm sure they will, but I believe that's who Cicero is. So I would have been...
Who's the one from Massachusetts with Hawk?
Oh,
Deep Space Nine?
Jeez.
Yeah, with Spencer for Hire.
Yes.
Yeah, Spencer for Hire. There you go. And that man standing there behind you?
Do you know in Deep Space Nine when he was first cast to play the part, quick aside for Captain Sisko?
They wanted to name him Spencer?
No, they made him, he wanted to have his bald hair and his beard and stuff, and they made him shave it and grow hair because they didn't want people to confuse the characters. Like, you're confused, you're in fucking space, shut the fuck up. And it took 3 seasons to convince them to shave his head. So some people say that's why his performance isn't as good until the later half, because they wouldn't let him add something to the character. He thought it made more sense for Sisko to be bald like Picard. But
Yeah.
whatever. Sorry for the Star Trek rant. I have to flex my geekitude sometimes. So that's what. So he says. So like Chuck was connected like Cicero. It would have been major trouble. But he kind of worked some magic, and instead of dealing with some serious time and some serious probation, he got it declared me as a minor sex offender. One shit, and I'm Charles fucking Manson.
Yep.
Yes, you are.
And that's why
children involved.
That's why
And
I'm in
it's
this
on
godforsaken
children.
wasteland.
Yes. Now, kitty cat notebooks for everybody.
That's
He's
a
basically like
surprise.
it's like the best microphone drop ever. He's like, and with that, bitches, come get your Hello Kitty notebooks, and he drops the microphone and walks out.
Saddest, most pathetic microphone drop in history.
He drops the B for
so,
Bob Barker microphone. Liquid Eagle.
It
drops
was
the
an
feather
twisted microphone drop. It was
Eh.
sad.
You don't even have to do it in slow motion because it's so light it just floats to the ground. Liquid Eagle says this season did end with a bang. There were so many crazy and funny moments in the finale. I agree. That's why I said this was one of the best episodes for the season for me, and it hit a lot of marks. It didn't have like a big murder kill thing, but that hasn't been this show. It lives within itself. And for this show, it had a lot of high stakes, and last week's episode was a big break and one of the huge breaks in the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And Chuck being a huge influence on Jimmy, and then Marco is another big building block of what connects to Jimmy. And then with what happened to him, the combination of the two of them really is the platform that drives him to Saul Goodman. I wouldn't be surprised if next season we start off with him as Saul Goodman and we're going straight on strong. I'm not, obviously we're not afraid to be wrong because we're wrong all the time. But that's kind of what I think is going to happen. I think the season's going to start off next season, and he is going to be like in the process of establishing his new persona. Maybe not have everything worked out, but he's going to start purchasing. He's going to use the money that he's going to get in the payoff from them eventually and other cases that he's going to work up, and cons he's going to start working around to buy the mall's place, and that's all going to start to happen.
Mike's gonna maybe bring him into his own criminal.
I agree with that. Or at least he's going to start using Mike as a private investigator to work on cons, because again, on watching Breaking Bad again, when he's asked about Mike on a couple of times, he refers to Mike as my private dick. He doesn't refer to him as a bodyguard, his partner, anything like that. He says that and I believe that. I believe what he's saying there, that he's probably someone that just does all that Mike work for
he does it for he does dick work for a vet. He does dick work for a chicken guy.
He does mother dick. He does
both of you did it. Both of you at the same time said he does his mother dick.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke, Katie.
Yeah, so he does mother dick stuff for everybody.
So we hear a music and a color shift, as like Ren was saying at the beginning of the episode. This episode had great music cues and more of what Joe was talking about over the year too, about excellent shifts in colors and shifts in just tone of where we are in the scene or where we are in time. And we see a music and a color shift. So we're in Chicago. And we see a cab that says Green Robin Cabs. I don't know why I write down all this useless information, but when I watch a show, I'm like, Green Robin, what could that mean? I like freeze-framed on the cab. What do they mean about Green Robin? Was that a hint for next season? Are we gonna call
someone's daughter goes to Green Robin Nursery School?
Yeah.
So they're like, we'll throw that on the cab I'll get free tuition next year.
I don't have any tinfoil, but I'm going to call this my tinfoil hat. I'm putting my tinfoil hat on.
All right, Jimmy, calm down.
Sorry, it's all good. It's all good, man. So we hear the music in the color shift, and Slippin' Jimmy's back on his stomping grounds, looking at an old shitty car, a Cutlass Supreme, I believe, with tinted windows. And he goes in the bar, and it's a great music transition. I love when TV shows do this, or movies. It's more of a movie thing. When you're listening to the song on the soundtrack, and as you transition into an interior,
it changes.
It changes to the same music playing on a jukebox in the background of a scene.
Yeah.
It's just a great way of doing a real natural transition. I really love it. And
or like someone will be driving and there'll be music playing, and you'll think it's just the soundtrack, and when they shut off the car, the music goes with it or something.
Yep. One of the best ones of those is in basketball.
It's such a beautiful movie.
Great song. So Jimmy comes over and
where's Joe?
Where's Joe? Yeah. And Jimmy comes over and gets 2 beers, and he asks about the bartender. He finds out that it's the stepson of the woman that worked when we were in this bar before, or when we saw her in the flashback earlier in the episode. And he says, "Tell her that Slippin' Jimmy's back. She'll know." And he gets 2 beers, and I just want to mention, I know it's a long time ago, but 2 beers for $5.50, man. That's awesome. And
awesome.
It is, and goes over to his buddy, and he starts massaging.
You can still get that. You just got to go to the right bars, and usually those are the type of bars that someone's going to try to con you, someone's going to try to stab you, or someone's going to offer you crack in the bathroom, or actually just be smoking it right there and blowing it in your face. Like.
Do you have an address? No, I'm kidding. So he brings him the two beers for $5.50 over to him, and he starts massaging his ear and saying, "You beautiful hunk of man," and then he's like, "Wake up, you son of a bitch! I got you a beer." And he goes, "Is that Slippin' Jimmy in the flesh?"
Oh, he's psyched to see him. His face is just
a hog. it's 10 years. And he goes, you've been living 10 years in the desert. You should be dark like Anthony Quinn. And they both start quoting movies, which is really cute because you see Jimmy's connection to a life old friend who gets all of his jokes. He seems to be the first time that he can connect with on those. They start quoting movies back and forth to each
They
other.
just fall right into their old ways. And it's funny because where does he find them? First thing he does when he gets back in town, he goes to the bar where the last place he saw him, sitting in the same fucking bar stool, like he said.
Yep. Oh, and yes, Katie, it was very sad.
Waiting for his friend to come back. It was like watching the dog on Futurama, waiting for Fry to come home all those years.
Aww, just waiting right there. And he says, "Sorry." He says, "Listen, I'm Irish. I'll never turn. I'll never get color out in the desert." And he says, "Speaking of that, how's Chuck? And how's your brother? Still?" And he goes, are you still working for him? And he says, well, sometimes. But he quickly changes the subject, and he says, except for falling asleep on a bar on Wednesday afternoon, what are you doing? And he says, I'm working on, I think he said standpipes.
Standpipes, yep.
Yep, and it's a job that I got for my sister's husband, and you also notice right away that Marco has like a really bad cough. I actually thought they were going to go the lung cancer route because the cough reminded me a lot of Walter White.
I'm thinking tuberculosis?
Something.
And Jimmy's drinking from the same carton as him? Brilliant. So does Jimmy have a chronic cough
when he's Saul?
When he's Saul in Breaking Bad?
But Walter does. Walter sure does.
Yeah, Walter does. I know Walter does, but I didn't know if like Jimmy was excessively coffee or anything like that at any time.
No, not that I remember. Not that I remember. Ren says, sorry for being so late about this, but do you think the guy having illegally dark tinted windows was what got Jimmy off the hook?
It probably was what got Jimmy off the hook, but that was one of the things he says in the cell to Chuck, I believe. I think he was saying that.
I have to rewatch that episode again. But I think he was shouting something to Chuck when Chuck showed up at the cell to bust him out, and I'm sure it's not against Chuck to be like, oh, if we wanted to press this case, we could win this case. So let's just get him written off as a sex offender, and I'm going to take him out of the state. Yeah. Done deal. So something to that effect. But I absolutely don't doubt that Chuck would use everything to his advantage in that situation. It's
of course not. He's a high-priced lawyer.
I'm glad we found out what he did. It's one of those things that I didn't necessarily know that I didn't want to know, but now that I did know it, I'm so glad we found that out.
Well, we knew he was just going to the bathroom. He does say something like that he was going to the bathroom.
Right, but I thought it was like he was pissing on this. It was like public peeing. Like when Joe and I have a friend named Nick that got arrested once for pissing at a toll booth. Like he just stopped and got out of the car and.
Oh, he didn't get arrested. He almost got arrested.
Oh,
we almost did. I forgot all about that. That's the craziest shit ever. Wait, seriously, we're like 2 cars out from the toll booth. He's just drunk as all motherfucker. He's like, and he jumps out of the car, runs to the side of the road at the toll plaza and pisses with a state trooper sitting in the resting zone just after the toll booth watching it all. As soon as he gets back in the car, we got pulled over.
Joe, if we know anybody in the world that's like Slippin' Jimmy, it's sure as hell him.
Oh.
So anyways,
I forgot. Wow, where the fuck were we going?
we can talk about that later. I don't think I want to say that right now. So he shows up. So he shows him the standpipe that's his car's on the job, and he's coughing pretty bad, and he says jargon about the sandpiping, and then he asks about standpiping, not sandpiping. He asks about his mom. And Jimmy says she died 3 years ago, and they go, oh, she was a good lady. She was from Wisconsin, right? And you can already see that this guy's not quite the con man Jimmy is, but he's already probing him right here. Right away, he smells some. But where's the shit, Robin? He smells it, and he says, there's a so the funeral out in Wisconsin? No, here. Oh, whoa, what was it here?
Oh, Marco he's crushed.
Heartbroken.
You get like his face just drops, and you didn't even come to say hi.
You didn't say hi?
Yeah.
What? But I was only here for
we see exactly why he didn't when he's trying to say goodbye later. he's not letting him go. He's not
Don't
letting him go.
Don't you think it's funny that Saul or that Jimmy does the same kind of thing that Chuck does here to him in this scene a little bit, and did it earlier as well? Instead of taking responsibility right away, he's putting it on Chuck, like Chuck puts on McGill for Jimmy. It's a brotherly trait. He starts going, "Oh no, this is Chuck wants me to leave." Like at first take, it's Chuck wants me to leave. He's the one that's forcing me to leave. He's the bad guy in this situation. And he tries it again here too. Oh, at the funeral, Chuck didn't want to stop. I don't buy that for a second. He's the one that didn't want to stop.
Yeah, no, because he knows how hard it would be to say goodbye again.
Yep, because this guy means so much to him, and this guy is so much the embodiment of.
It's his best friend. It's his partner. It's his partner in crime. It's
a guy who idolizes him.
Yes. Remember what he says to him as he's walking out. It's like, it's like Miles Davis giving up the trumpet. Where you going?
Exactly, and it's also everything you guys were saying, and more too, to the effect that it's also the person that reminds you how great you are at something. He looks at him, and he's the person that recognizes what kind of talent is inside of him, and looks at him and goes, "Listen." Probably gives him the most support he's ever got than anyone in his life. Is his best friend and his dad and his mom in a sense. And just gives him not support, gives him the respect, more respect than anybody else, for his abilities. And it's like one person, it's like your buddy that when you first learn guitar and knows that you play awesome, but his parents are like, stop making that noise. But you have that one buddy that's like, dude, you're awesome. You need to start a band. You're fucking great.
No, he loves him. He loves Jimmy.
He loves Jimmy. And I mean, I'm not saying Chuck doesn't love Jimmy, but this guy loves the real Jimmy for who he is. Chuck, in a way, loves him because he's his brother, but loves him of what he could see him become. Wants to push down that, loves him for trying not to be him. For as some people have said, loves him for trying to break good, but doesn't like when he tries to be individual.
Now I can't stop thinking about him now.
Chuck or
No, neither of them.
Are you starting to?
Our very own Slippin' Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you our Slippin' Jimmy or your brother Bob, your older brother Bob.
No,
not Bob. Yeah, you're like fuck that guy. He's the body buried. Shh.
Shh, Phil.
Oh, sorry. Well, I have a big mouth. I talk a lot. So the waiter asks if they want anything else, and they both say no. It's time to go. And it's kind of awkward for a second, and Saul changes the subject and asks about the cutlass outside and asks if it still runs and just needs some body work. And I think in a sense this is a metaphor for their con skills. Like, oh, yeah, we still got all the pieces in place. It's just the car still is out there, just needs some body work, and then it's 100%. Marco asks...
Which is to further show that this guy is exactly where he was 10 years ago, just with a different job. He hasn't changed one bit. Same bar, same stool, same car that Jimmy left him when he left town.
Again, I always compare things to other, like another 48 Hours, not a bad sequel. When Eddie Murphy meets up with Nick Nolte a few years later after he's out of prison, and he's like, oh, you're driving the same car, same woman, same clothes. You're just same fucking. I bet you get the same woman too. No, she dumped me. Nick Nolte. I can't do that voice too long, but it's I'm a good actor, I swear. You are. I fucking love you, Nick Nolte.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yes. I love him as an actor, not as a person.
Right.
So Jimmy sports he says, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna see a Cubs game, get a hot dog at Henry's, but they both know what's really gonna happen. They both know what's going on here. It's Jimmy spots a businessman, and he quickly thinks of a scam. He asks if this guy's a regular, and he looks and says, listen, I'm buying, you're selling. And they both smile at each other. Boys are back in town. Scam time. And so it ends up being a scam that Jimmy's tries to sell Marco a $50 that's faced in the wrong direction, and that they were small print. And it's a whole big story. But
What a con.
JFK's head's facing to the left because it's supposed to be facing to the right. Why is it facing to the left? Because after he was assassinated in '64, I lost track, but
because everybody faces to the left. Same reason as Lincoln faces to the right. I mean, and it's to the east because that is like the new day dawning. Same reason why all cemetery gravestones, if you haven't noticed, usually face east.
And you're like, wait, yeah, okay, I get it.
And so a rogue minter decided he didn't want his idol hero JFK to be facing,
looking to the
the American past. He wanted him to be looking to the future or something like that. And he goes, but you know, I'm hard up. It's worth $800 at least. You could get $800 for this.
Yeah.
I need $100. I'll sell it to you for $100. And he's like, and I ain't buying that shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yep.
Well, look, I'm gonna give you $100 for a 50-cent piece. Get the fuck out of here.
Yep, and then the guy, the Mark, looks over
Starts
and
laughing.
starts laughing, and Jimmy turns and goes, "What? We're having a private conversation. Leave us the fuck alone."
This is an A and B conversation, motherfucker. See your way out.
Out of here.
Oh my goodness.
And then Jimmy needs to drain the main veins. And he goes off to go pee-pee in the potty. Pee-pee in the potty. Pee-pee in the potty. And Marco turns to this guy and says, "This sick SOB's playing with me." He says, "Listen, I know a coin guy. I watched Pawn Stars, and I got a guy on Street Style that really can put this guy in his place. I know the beard. I'm going to call the beard."
I just so happened to have a brother whose hairdresser's cousin Sally saw Ferris at 46 Flavors last night. And at 46 Flavors, there happened to be Antique Roadshow coming through.
Honestly, when it really comes down to it, this is the Marco. As much as we want to say Saul's the best, the most difficult part of the con is this. It's selling
this is the sale.
that you know a guy, and the way he says it too, he just says it very confidently.
Oh, yeah, if this motherfucker's con, I'm gonna bust his head. No, I'm gonna call the cops. I'm gonna have him arrested for trying to pull a fast one on me.
Facing west, my hairy ass. So he makes the call, and he's like, listen, Joe, I got this guy here. He's trying to sell me this 50-cent piece, some shit about facing west, I don't know.
Oh.
Really? And then you just hear it. And again, it's the way he deals with it. And okay, again, when you're dealing with acting, when some people are trying to act like in real acting, I'm talking about like when they're on stage, like amateurs or something like that. And one of the moments where bad acting shows is when someone's faking being on the phone. Because if you don't hear someone on the other end, it's something you don't think about when you're doing it. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna say my lines, and they're gonna be convincing.
No, you need to wait for
the other
responses.
Yes, and in the world of this universe, if this is real life, him as a con man played that perfectly. Like he was listening to every single word this person was saying, and his face changed over like, oh shit.
And then he turns around.
Picks the phone up.
He turns around, and then his reaction when he gets off the phone, when the guy turns back to him and goes, "Oh hey, what do you say?" And he goes, "Oh nothing. He didn't know anything about it." It was also perfect. It was also a perfect response in that situation.
Yep.
Slick.
Shuts him down and then tries to meet Saul before Saul even gets back around the bar. He meets him at the corner of the bar.
And he goes, "Listen, I got 50. No, I got 60. Listen, I got $64.
I'll be back with the 100.
Yep. He pulls the Lebowski thing. Goes, "Suck your dick for $1,000. I gotta go to an ATM." He'll be right back, and he's got $64. He waits, and then the guy comes over and goes, "Listen, I got this
75 right now.
75, $80. And then he goes, listen, call the cops on this guy. This guy's trying to get me out. He goes, listen, did you know that guy was going to try to call the cops on you?
He says, no, I got 110. I'll give you 100. Sold.
And then Marco comes yelling at him. Excuse me, and also great part of
and that's a very important part of it too, because he's got to chase him out of the bar. He's got to get him as far away from the bar before he knows that he's been got.
Yep. And gets him all far scam worked out.
Want to ever come back there, because if he ever comes back, this guy's not going to believe him about it being a fake coin. It's going to beat his ass.
And the scam worked out. They high five in slow motion. No, they didn't do that. And they turn around and they say to the two people, or actually there's no one else in the bar. I think there's no one else at that point except for the bartender.
Just
next
the bartender.
Next round's on us.
Everybody, next round's on us.
So back in, and they're doing scams. This is one of those parts, again, I can't wait to rewatch and pick out every little thing that they say here. This is the montage with the jazz music, with the old school thing. We hear Saul say Nigerian prince scam. He's going to next level. It's all team just keeps working together, just like an old school crime movie style is what I wrote.
It was basically like a floating, fading in and out, like pictures of them and like neon signs and almost black and white, but with the with like the bursting, but not black and white. It was in color, but you would imagine it that way. But bursting neon colors and
It was like an old movie.
Yeah.
Like I can't even think of
Like Dick Tracy-ish, like when
Yeah.
Dick
Yeah.
Tracy, when all the guys are making dun dun dun. When Big Boy strikes again, you know.
it was a great montage.
You're right.
It was an-
great, yeah.
It was not an 80s musical montage. It was a 50s gangster movie montage.
50s, 60s gangster movie montage, like that style.
And instead of set over like a music, it was set over them talking about different cons that have gone on, like explaining cons or running cons on people, and they've just been working their old ways, and they're getting back in the snap of it, and they're clicking like clicking.
like clicking like Turner and Hooch. They're clicking like that moment.
Like Turner and Hooch. There you go.
And Hooch. So I also love the colors too. Marco is in red most of the time in the scene in this montage, and Saul's in blue-green. We see a lot of smoke. We hear the voices looping together with voice filters and stuff. Like two guys, like almost at times it was mixed with that 50s style thing, and also had a little bit of an influence of, say, a movie when a bunch of characters in the movie start doing heroin or drugs for the first time, and they start partying as you see the dollar bills floating, bills in the air, floating down as they're all like, oh. You get the feeling like Saul's on a drug. That this is.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things you hear him say, like, they're like, yeah, you know that movie Field of Dreams, or you know that movie Dances with Wolves. So all levels there's all levels of cons going on in this montage. Like.
This is a very little thing, but we're gonna get to this, and this is goddamn important. I want to say that we constantly talk when Saul Goodman is talking to Jesse and Walt in Breaking Bad. We often wonder if he's making shit up. And at one point, he in fact, okay, so we get to our next scene, right after the montage, he's waking up and he looks down and it's a woman, or he looks up, we get the eye perspective of a woman in her underwear walking up and saying, "You're not Kevin Costner."
Yeah.
and he says, I was last night, as she runs out. And that is a Breaking Bad reference. At one point, I believe it's to Jesse. I don't know. It might be to Walt. And I could be messing this up. Tell me.
I convinced a girl that I was.
You think that's bad? I once told a woman, I think it's about to Walt when he's talking about lying to Skylar. He goes, "You think that's bad? I once told a woman I was Kevin Costner for a night to sleep with her." So
yep. And it worked.
And it worked. Yes.
It wasn't like he just told her to sleep with her and it didn't end up working. It worked. He sold that shit.
So both girls run around and they run out. She's like, and he asks if she wants a mimosa, and she's screaming at her friend, "Listen, if this guy's not Kevin Costner, that guy's not Kevin Costner's manager." He doesn't even have a name, Kevin Costner's manager. Saul asks if she wants a mimosa, and she says, "Screw you." He says, "If you build it, I will come." Oh my gosh. And then the door gets stuck, and you can tell this has happened before. He's just like, "Oh, watch out, the door gets stuck." It's just funny as he sips the drink. You see him living on a air mattress and in the middle of Marco's apartment. And he gets dressed and he sits up, and you can tell I don't know if he feels bad for a second, but
his apartment or his mother's basement.
Yeah, one or the other. I'm not quite sure. And he looks at the phone and he thinks about using it for a second, and he starts to feel bad, not for staying at Marco's for what they're going through more. He starts thinking about home a little bit, or New Mexico, and he looks down his voicemail and he says 15 messages, and we hear that it's all the messages of all the old folk that he has
been asking about him.
Where are you, Saul?
Everybody loves Jimmy.
Everybody
loves Jimmy.
Everyone.
You have to be lovable to be a good con man.
As Marco comes out and he says, "What are you up to, and what are we going to do today?" And Saul says, "Well, it's been a very good week, but that's enough. I need to go." And Marco says, "Listen, I already called in sick. Why are you going back? You hate it?" He goes, "It's time to go home." And he goes, What do you have to go home to?" And he goes, "My clients." "What are you, a gigolo or something? Your client?"
And this is where, so he's been with him for a week.
And he hasn't told him.
And he hasn't told him. He never told him that he got it, that he passed the bar, that he went back to school, any of that,
And he says, "No."
Slippin' Jimmy.
Slippin' Jimmy, yeah, he's playing him too. And he says, "No, I am a lawyer." and I'm working with old people with geriatrics, and
So what's the scam?
yeah, you're ripping old people off. That's awesome. The cool scam. And he goes, no, on the level, mainly making ends. And he goes, wait, Marco. Marco goes, wait, you're telling me Slippin' Jimmy's a lawyer? Almost the same thing that Chuck said.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a license to print golden money.
Yep. No wonder.
Marco sees it as a good thing. Like, this is wonderful.
Exactly, Kate. And he's like, no wonder you want to go back there. You'll be the king of the desert. You must be the king of the desert, driving around with a caddy, making bank.
No, I barely make I don't make bank. I barely make a living. You're fucking doing something wrong.
Yep. And Saul says, no, I'm not making bank, but I'm building something. He says, building something. He goes, oh, if you're haven't built anything, build something here. And Just Incredible has a question. He says, how much money do you think that they made in that scam window? I get a couple thousand probably. I think it was more for fun. They were always low-time scammers. I'm guessing that the money they made was that $1,000 in the wallet that we see later. They probably built that 100 to the 1,000, and
that's what I'm thinking too. That's pretty much what I'm thinking.
And they were thinking, oh, we have $1,000, we can get even more than that. We can double, we can get even more out of this scam.
And that's a week's worth of running cons.
Yeah,
that's not a lot of money for two people. They're low time. They're small time hustlers.
Oh, they're doing $100, $200.
Yeah, like you con them for $100. They might go to jail over $100 or some shit.
But as we learn, it's not about the money.
Exactly. It's not. He just loves having Jimmy back.
Yep, and that's basically what he says, as Katie said. Chuck, he goes, listen, I got to go back. Chuck lives there too, and he says, with all due respect, Chuck's a douche. What, Joe?
Well, I was gonna say, like no, keep going.
Okay, so you looked like you were ready. You were pitching.
I am. I'm getting ready.
Okay. So he says, all due respect, Chuck is a douchebag. I hate to break it to you, he doesn't like you. He says he is my brother. And Marco says, okay, family, I get it. You have to go back. But listen. You know the Rolexes, the whole Rolex scam? Oh, yeah, whatever happened to that guy? Forget that. We have one Rolex left. The last one.
And this is it. This is it, that last Rolex. That last Rolex is, he hasn't been able to find anybody else to do this scam with. That's the feeling I get. Like,
that's been
whether or not
there.
that's been sitting there pretty much since Jimmy left, because we see him. Wasn't he asking someone else to teach him how to do it or some shit?
Yep.
At some point in the episode, so we get the feeling like he's never found another partner that he can run scams with. He's never found anybody else that elevates him to that level, to that high.
He needs the lead.
Yeah.
He's not a loner in the game. He needs Jimmy to kind of lead him.
Absolutely, 100%, Katie. Yeah, 100%. Ren says, I once told a woman I was Kevin Costner, and it worked because I believed it.
Exactly.
And Liquid Eagle says, it's not the money, it's the thrill. And I go a step further and say it is the connection to the brotherhood that he has with Saul, because Saul Goodman, Jimmy is the closest thing to a family or a brother that he has. You can just tell that right away. Or that's his family, and you get that from the end too when he talks about when Jimmy shows the ring to his family member, and his family member, oh, you can make $1 on that. That's pretty good. So you see that the con thing is in Marco's family. So he probably looks at Jimmy as, oh my God, I found Keanu Reeves. I found the one.
Yeah.
This guy's got more metachlorians than anybody.
And it also goes to show you, like, they both ask about each other's mothers and stuff when they first get together in the bar when Jimmy gets back. And he says, yeah. That when he goes to step outside for the cigarette, the guy's like, hey, I see you got his ring on. He says, yeah, his mother gave it to me.
Yep. Yeah.
I didn't take it. It wasn't like his mom gave it to me, because they've known each other forever. They've been best friends forever.
Exactly. She would know that he would want Jimmy to have something to remember him by, like that.
Yes.
So he says, one last one, let's do it. The last one we did was $600. Let's do it, Jimmy. One last grand one.
No.
Come on, Jimmy. One last, come on, buddy. Come on, dude.
No, you don't get. I gotta go. I gotta get back.
No, you don't understand, Joe. You don't understand. One last time, man. Come on, let's just come over. We've done so many other times, dude. Listen, man, I don't care what anyone else is telling you. You and me, we got to do it. We've done this so many times. We got to do it one last time. You can't say no.
I'm not gonna, no.
I've done it for you a million times. You did it for me a million times. You can't say no. Okay, you're doing it. You're doing it. We're doing it. Yes, we're doing it. We've seen this a million times, and it's a great way of depicting male friendship because this shit is true. We saw it in White Man Can't Jump when Woody at the end goes with Wesley instead of staying with Gloria, where he should have stayed with Gloria. The guys can't help themselves. When a boy says it's horrible. It's a horrible thing.
Take the fucking skirt off, man.
Come on, dude. You can't say no. You're not saying no. You can't say no.
Do I smell? What is that I smell?
It's more, I'll say it's more than the pussy thing. It's more, I'll go one further to, we were talking about Nick, we'll mention him again. Nick has a famous line that if you don't say no right away, if you say maybe or you hesitate for half a second, that's a yes. I just need to get it out of you.
Yeah.
And even if you say no, I might be able to turn that no around. It depends how you say no. If you say no, like no fucking way, I know you're overcompensating because you really want to. You need to say it calmly, like, no, I really don't want to do that. But yeah, you do want to do that because you can't deny you're gonna have a good time. What do you mean? No, you don't want to have a good time. It's one of those sort of things, and he totally.
He knows how to get to push Jimmy's button. He almost had Jimmy turn around and stay instead of go to New Mexico.
He really did. And Liquid Eagle makes a good point. One last one is never a good line.
No, it's not. Like, everybody knew that there was a bad mojo there.
Yeah.
You said no. Don't tempt the fates. You had a week-long run. You said no. Once you say no, once you have that thought to get up and walk away from the fucking table, get up and walk away from the table. And don't be like, okay, I'll wait for the next blind to come around. I'll wait for, one more streak. I'll wait to see if through the rest of the shoe and see if I don't hit one more streak. Oh, no, always bad news. Get the fuck up and walk away once that thought crosses the frontal lobe, man. Get out.
Yeah, and if someone says to you one last time, that term, no, bad news, turn around, say no.
Bad, yes.
No one last time.
You're walking into a firecracker, or you're walking into a time bomb. Tick, 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 motherfuckers. So as we cut, because of course Jimmy can't say no, we cut to them in the alley doing the scam that we saw earlier in the season. Marco's looking a little tired, though, and a little breathing heavy right from the beginning, humming Smoke on the Water while he's going. But it's scary as he's coughing and coughing. And I said, yep, I just wrote ominous cough, ... So we hear animal sounds, the howls, as we hear from the earlier episode, the whole howl thing again. I love how they brought this back.
And that's important because that signals Marco that he's coming.
Yep.
So he can get on the ground and throw the wallet out there and shit.
Do you know what I also love? That's just what you got from this. You knew obviously you got the first half of the scam because you got from the bar and then watching Saul Goodman walk that guy out from the bar. You got to see the other side of the scam, so you got to see both ends.
But he's got to be sitting there all night long,
waiting for the setup all night long out in the alleyway. So he's sitting there in the alleyway, and then we see them coming up, and they walk in the alleyway, and the guy, Mark, finds the wallet, the cash with $1,000. As they look and they see Marco passed on the ground, as they walk up and start dead to do the whole Jimmy poke him with a stick thing.
Marco, no.
He pokes him again. He still doesn't move. And then after a few pokes, he realizes he's not moving. And I knew what was happening, but
Marco. Wait.
I gotta say it. Say that again, Joe. What's his name?
Marco?
Polo!
Immediately the guy's like, wait, you know him?
It's Ren without. It's the Italian Job all over again. Or Eat with Robert De Niro. Spoiler time for a lot of movies. Or whenever a character says, I just have one last thing I got to do.
Yeah.
You know it's death.
Oh, just one last. We're gonna go get high one last time.
Yeah, one last
time.
Someone's dying. Either that or I've never tried in a movie or a TV show. I've never tried that. Let me try that for the first time ever tonight. That's nothing could happen if I try it once, right?
Hey man, it was Len Bias's first time, wasn't it?
Oh, of course. You never did that shit before. And people are like, who?
That's for anybody over the age of 40 or 35 who's a Boston Celtics fan.
Yeah, the sports fan. So Marco's passed on the ground, and and he's poking him, and he turns around to the other guy and says, "Call 911." What? You know this guy? Because as Joe said, he mentions his name. He goes, "Listen, call 911. My friend is having a heart attack." And
I don't think he says friend. I don't think he says it to him.
no, he screams. He says, "Call 911. My friend's having a heart attack." And then this guy runs away. And
I'll take the $1,000 instead.
yeah, and he just runs away. And then this guy wakes, and then Marco wakes up, and this got me so bad. I don't even want to say it. He said, "Sorry, I messed up."
Oh, so sweet.
No, I love Marco. Oh, and he said, "No, you didn't."
It's been the best week of my life.
It's been the greatest. Yeah, it's been the greatest week of my life. and it's just with the music too. They have this like music in the background too. It's just all emotional. And he's just calling. He's like, He goes, "My friend's trying to have a." Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right, Joe. He doesn't say that to the guy. He says that to the person in 911.
Right. I think he was just like, call 911.
And the guy runs off, and then he says to the 911 officer, "Come quick. My friend's having a heart attack."
Yeah.
And he's trying to call him, and he said, and Marco, no, as he passes out and dies. And
maybe this guy doesn't have a cell phone, so he is running off to go call 911.
Maybe.
I think so.
No, he's running off. I got $1,000. Fuck off.
Yeah. Do you think that guy's telling anybody? Do you guys think he's telling anybody what happened? I just totally let a guy die in the alleyway and took $1,000.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, you're telling me, and you're going, "Great job, dude."
I'm not telling Katie.
Oh, Liquid Eagle says 33 is the cutoff for Len Bias because they're 33 and they get it. So, to the funeral home.
That's someone up there.
Joe, actually, I've looked at the demographics. We're in the demographic. Most of the people that check out our show and are in our community would get our references.
Awesome.
It works. So to the funeral home, Jimmy bums a cigarette from a guy outside, probably one of Marco's family members. Jimmy has the ring on, Marco's ring on his pinky, that his mom gave to him, and the guy says it could be worth a couple bucks. As they sit there and smoke, the other guy heads in, and Jimmy says, "See you inside," and he smokes his butt, and he listens to the traffic as his phone rings. And we'll cut for 1 second over to Justin. I think the significance of this show is when Marco says it was the best week of my life is another sign to tell Jimmy to go with what he knows and scam people. I think it's part of that of he's going to look back on that week at one point and realize that it was the best week of his life too.
Yeah.
Or he says not the show, this episode. We know. I know what you meant. And in this, so Kim's calling and she goes, "Is this Ferris Bueller?" Oh my gosh, Joe! I totally loved Kim in this episode.
Well, so maybe that's why the 36 flavors the shit was on my mind tonight. Because of the Ferris. Hello, is this Ferris Bueller? Because he was been absent for so long.
She was so cute with him tonight. I want to listen, Jimmy. I want to run something by you. Davis and Maynard, or whatever they were called, they've heard of you and they want to make you an offer and put you on a partner track. Do you have any interest in it? And this case is too big, and we have to team with them, and we're gonna do a big case.
And Hamlin even helped to set this up.
Yeah.
He's like, "Wait, what do you mean they want me?" Well, Chuck wouldn't like that, and she says, "Chuck can't do shit about it. And listen, we've been talking to your clients, and they care about you, and they keep asking about you. You're worth it."
I get the feeling, too, might not have also just been... We know Chuck is the axe man, is the hatchet man, right? I don't think it necessarily was all just... not Chuck, Hamlin is the hatchet man and stuff. I think Chuck maybe had a hand in it, too, because he didn't want to not work with Saul. He just didn't want him to be working at HHM.
Yeah. I pause because that's part of his creation. It's like ruining. He doesn't want him to touch his sandcastle or snow castle because little Robin might fuck it up. You fucked it up. You fucked everything up.
You don't want to play with the mountain's dolls, man.
Yep. No, absolutely. I hear that, and because Chuck is very territorial of his creation, so I wouldn't doubt it. And similar to the way he looked, that maybe Chuck had a hand in this, and realizing maybe I shouldn't have been that harsh on Jimmy. There is some good. He's trying to break good. Johnny Rico, sorry, probably getting laid made Marco's heart give up on later in that day. And when did looking like Kevin Costner ever get you laid?
Right.
Wait, what year was this again? Is this is 6 years before the time of Breaking Bad?
Yeah, but this is definitely after Waterworld.
Okay, it's after Waterworld. So yes, it's true. It probably would not help him.
So there's a reason why he looks as bad as he does, and he's in a bar in Southside Chicago.
Life's been rough.
Life's been rough since Waterworld.
And as Ren said, yes, it's an offer like everything he wanted. Ultimately, almost an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah.
You could say.
Right. And it's that brass ring. That brass ring is right in front of him again, and now he's got the brass ring that she's offering him that's back at home, and then he's got the cursed ring, the one ring to rule the Jimmy.
Ring.
Yeah, and Katie, I actually think what you said was absolutely right. I think it's also it's probably from Hamlin and Kim's perspective, a way of eventually getting Jimmy into the mix at HHM. If he goes there, it legitimizes him.
Yeah.
Does
he wear that pinky ring throughout Breaking Bad?
Saul?
Yes, I believe he is.
Saul?
I believe Saul is wearing that. I wanted to say that, but I wanted to check because I didn't think about it. Now I have to go back.
And I want to make sure we talk about that because I haven't seen it in the chat room, and I definitely haven't started Breaking Bad over again like you've told me to.
It's good to do in the off season. I'm trying to close my eyes and remember. I'm pretty sure that Saul Goodman has that ring on.
I think so.
I'm almost positive. He has
it just makes sense where they made a point to point out that he has it now, that he says I'm not a ring guy, and then he plays with it, and then he still has it on. Later, we still see it on his finger when he's back in New Mexico.
My precious.
Right, and instantly, like when he puts that ring on, like his mind is made up. Like it's not quite made up. It's not made up till he drives by Mike in that booth.
Oh, Mike.
It just takes him a minute to realize his mind.
Oh, Mike. So he's happy about it, and she also says, listen, we mentioned this before, but she also mentions that, well, it's not just me, because he goes, you must have done a lot of hard work to get me this opportunity, and she goes, well, it wasn't just me, it was Hamlin as well. And we talked about her not putting herself on the line. Who knows where this came from? Maybe it was Hamlin that idea initially, maybe it was her idea. It doesn't really matter. It just, again, shows, we don't have to get into it all because we talked a lot about it last time. Just that Hamlin has not been the bastard that we thought he was through this whole time.
Yeah, suddenly have to like Hamlin and Kim.
We have to like Hamlin and Kim, or we don't have. You don't have to, but you listen, guys. You have to like
thing to do. It's the right thing.
You gotta like these people, or Katie's gonna kill you.
I'm still. Here's the thing. I now think differently of Hamlin. I still she's not completely out for herself, but I am still not. He's on the hook. He's still on the hook.
Yeah.
He's always been on the. She has still hooked him. Yeah. She has still, he's like cuckolded in the corner of the room or some shit like.
No doubt about that, but she's just not as nefarious as maybe we thought for a couple episodes there.
You're right. Well, she cares about her little bait.
Yeah,
she cares about the little fish on the hook.
Yeah. She's a loving. She feeds him a lot. She throws him some worms.
Right. She doesn't want to like if he hates her, he's not there to adore her, and she wants that. She loves that. She just doesn't want him or love him.
Liquid Eagle says, "Hey, Costner just came out with 3,000 Miles from Graceland. He was hot in 2002."
Isn't everybody hot next to those other two men?
And Justin says they were both wearing black. Maybe it's a sign of bad things to happen to Kim. Oh, I don't doubt. I don't doubt in season 2 maybe some bad stuff happening to Kim, simply because, again, it seems like they have the kind of. I hate to, because Saul wasn't a central character as much as an additional character in Breaking Bad, so we didn't see all of his personal life. It's just hard for me to imagine that Kim is still around. Not mean that she's dead, but she's traveled somewhere far if we didn't get some smell of her during Breaking Bad. I mean, I know the real reason is, her character wasn't created yet. Ha ha ha. But But I don't know. I tend to think they're going to have some big falling out next
Well,
season.
that would make sense.
Something bad is going to happen to her in the mix of something.
Well, I just think the Saul persona isn't going to sit well with any of them. He's not a legitimate law-abiding guy.
It's going to be fun.
Saul.
Yeah, no.
He's a criminal lawyer.
Right.
Exactly.
It's gonna be fun to watch.
I'm
glad they'll give us more time in the setting up of Saul Goodman.
And we mentioned that before the show started. That was the writers. I listened to a little bit, and if you haven't already, here plug. There's a podcast, the official Better Call Saul podcast, which is with some of the writers and creators of the show. I whistled there. Some of the writers and creators of the show. It's really interesting, and you get in a little of the behind the scenes stuff and working in the show. One thing they mention a lot is they have an idea, and this happened with Breaking Bad too. They have a plan for the whole season. They're not like in there trying to figure out what the fuck they're doing, like lost. Like some people, some shows. And just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what's Dharma initiative in time. That's gonna be great. Yeah.
How about we put a polar bear in the
well, that'd be fucking awesome too. Yeah, let's do it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They have a map, but they also say as the season goes and as they start seeing the dailies and seeing the episodes put together, everything's fluid and they change things. Like in season 1 of Breaking Bad, deciding to not kill Jesse Pinkman. I think the initial idea early on was to have this all come full circle.
They did it with Carol too in Walking Dead, deciding not to kill Carol at some point.
Yep.
She locked them out of it, the actress.
So it's interesting to see, and they work very fluid in the story, and I think initially from some of the stuff that they're saying they had an idea to make things go quicker, but then they felt like they got caught on to something with this slow rise and some of the work Odenkirk was doing, so they decided, and they knew they had a second season, so they said, why don't we take our time with it? Or Vince Gill, why don't we take our time? Why do we give everything at once? We're going to slowly lead you into this crazy. We can
explore this a little bit more.
Exactly.
I like that, Ren Renwood.
I love it.
You want to read it?
Like Spock once said, after a time you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting. Now Jimmy has it. He rejected it because it is not who he is down deep.
Yes. Exactly. He had what he wanted. Like Spock so many times was given humanity as a whole, or given the Vulcan way as a whole, but ultimately what he decides in the end is that his way is on an individual scale, always fighting his own battles, whether it's trying to go to Romulus and bring Romulus together to become part of Vulcan and bring them all together in unification, or then causing and being part of the Nero thing to get it. I'm sorry, I'm going to shut up now. So we go on. I'm dying to do some Star Trek videos if you can't tell. So here we go. So we see them in, and I'm so happy that Simon Pegg is working on making trips to the Star Trek 3. That's not going to suck. That's
go on with the Star Trek.
So Stevie there, she's happy, and Howard's happy, and Jimmy's not good. And I wrote right in the notes, she's happy, Howard's happy, Jimmy's not going to be there. So back to Chuck doing work with his new assistant, getting used to his thing. Chuck's complaining about Granny Smith apples, that he likes red apples, but not red delicious apples, but only Fuji apples.
They're flavorless, those red delicious.
Yeah, they're just flavorless. What's your favorite kind of apple, Joe and Kate?
Apple pie.
Apple pie, okay.
Ooh, I like the Granny Smiths.
Me too, Kate.
Does that count?
No.
I'm almost to the point where I won't eat other kind. I'm an apple snob that I will only eat Granny Smiths. Like if someone offers me like a little red apple, I might be like,
I can do a red delicious.
Here's my
the
thing.
bumpy ones.
Here's my thing. Fucking apple. Give me a pear.
Okay, you're a pear guy. Pear guy. Okay.
The brown pears. I like
Only
the
if
brown
it's
pears.
crunchy, I can do a pear.
No, I love pear over apple.
It's gotta be crunchy.
Something about an apple. I ate too many apples as a kid. I'm not a big apple fan.
Apples are pushed on
And
us
even the
as
worst part
children.
of apple pie is the apple.
The apple. The worst. Okay. So you just want pie. You want like.
I'll take apple pie
crust
without
and
the
goo.
apple. Yeah.
So you
Crust
want,
and
like-
sugary goo.
I think someone needs to create jokes.
The best kind of apple pie is pecan pie.
So back.
But I do love hot apple pie with ice cream on top. That's delicious.
Yeah, you like the ice cream. and eat around the apples.
So
So
I'm going to be honest. This 300-pound man does not eat the apples. All right.
so he's,
And the plate gets licked.
he doesn't get whatever's in front. Yeah, be fearful.
Do not sit within 3 feet, or you might lose something off of your body too. No guarantees someone doesn't get hurt when I feast. All right, so.
Are you? Would you try the soy milk like Chuck? Chuck also wants some soy milk. And
Oh no, I had a Katie made me a smoothie tonight with vanilla soy milk and blueberries and vanilla yogurt and deliciousness. Strawberries and.
Ren says Granny Smith here too, but Fuji's are good as well. Yeah, Fuji's can be good as well. I agree. Fuji's are decent. I tend to agree with Chuck here. I'm on Chuck's side in the apple debate.
See, I can no.
No
Okay,
Fuji
red,
here?
red delicious. She's a delicious girl.
Oh, she likes Fuji's delicious.
No?
No,
Granny
only if there's no Granny Smith.
Only if
Then
there's
the
no
red
Granny.
delicious. Other apples, no, they don't.
Yeah, I tend to mainly eat Granny Smiths, but I will eat some. I'll take a bite here and there of a red one if prompted. It's not something I'm like, ew, gross. But
Bumpies are fun.
Mm.
so Ernesto is this guy.
I'm not going to compare apples and oranges, but I'll just take the oranges.
Oranges are better. Agreed.
Oh, of course. So what are you even talking about here? Shut the fuck up. Come on. We don't even bring citruses in. I mean, if we're going to talk about this, we're going to get into the fact that I think clementines are better than oranges.
Oh, but give me a mandarin.
Oh my
Yeah, I'm more of a clementine. Like, from all those clementines are my babies.
Clementines are delicious too. They're all delicious.
Ren
Give
says,
me a grapefruit, man. I love a grapefruit.
fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Fuck, that guy is right.
Ren says,
That guy with a sugared spoon in the eye.
Ren says, I've been known to eat a half a pecan pie in one sitting.
Oh yeah.
That's it, Ren? Just half? Fucking amateur.
Well, because there's a half a gallon of ice cream on top of it.
Yeah, both
so.
amateurs.
Joe's licking your plates. Is that what Joe's finishing up your leftovers?
Yeah, I
Let
have
me just
to
say
kind of
this.
guard
I
mine.
brought 2 pecan pies to Thanksgiving dinner. One of those was for me.
Oh my goodness. So as we see Ernesto leave, he turns and smiles at Jimmy's car and he says, he goes, hey Ernie, how's it going? And looking after Chuck and he's checking in on him and he says, I'll go for a drink with you, but I gotta do some work. And then we see Chuck kind of peering out the window at Jimmy there, thinking about going outside to stop him and saying, but he can't quite pull the trigger to go through the door.
I'm taking Vinny.
See, I'd take Saul.
I'm taking Vinny.
Okay, the big
That's
question.
incredible. That is a great question.
It is.
Okay.
It's a
Big question. Joe, that's your answer. Katie, who are you leaning to?
Saul.
Okay.
Absolutely. As
This-
Saul, though.
This is my question, though. Ultimately, we see Saul at his peak, at his ultimate talent. When we see Vinny, it's Vinny's first case. I want to see Vinny 2-3 years in. Both men at their wait. Let me finish. Both men at their prime. I think I got to go with Vinny because if Vinny did that well on his first case,
that's the good point. He not only did that well on his first case, we haven't seen Jimmy get anybody actually off. Even his best case got 2 kids, 6 months probation.
yeah. And Jiminy usually usually defends criminals. Whereas we have Vinny striving, and if Vinny doesn't like you, he'll just beat you to death in the bar.
Vinny gets you off, Jimmy doesn't.
Yes, Vinny gets you off, Jimmy doesn't.
Jimmy makes you compromise and make a deal. Jimmy gets you a deal, Vinny gets you off.
Vinny gets you off. And Vinny had to defend the Karate Kid, and that kid's a little bitch.
The other kid was even more of a little
He was
bitch.
more of a little bitch.
Oh, you
great
bled.
question.
Marissa Tomei is absolutely freaking
See-
gorgeous in that movie, and she absolutely got the freaking
She's
Oscar she
she's
deserved.
the only reason Vinny ultimately won.
Right. But it's like saying, but that argument's true, Katie. But ultimately, it's like when people do the whole like, oh well, Kirk wouldn't have won as many times without Spock, or Picard wouldn't have won as many times without Data. But they have them, so they're a team. He has a Mona Lisa. What was her? I forget her. Mona Lisa. Fuck. Whatever.
Mona Lisa Italiana.
Italian. Mona Lisa Marissa Tomei.
There you go.
Johnny asked, next season I want to see how Jimmy met Huel and how he become his bodyguard. Also, if Marco didn't die, could he become one of Jimmy's bodyguards instead? I absolutely think that if Marco didn't die, he would have come back eventually and worked
He
in
would have
Jimmy.
tried to
Yeah.
maybe.
He would have
No,
become.
no, Jimmy never would have brought him down to New Mexico.
I don't know about that. But as for your question about
Knows he's a bad influence.
about
he knows
Cuddy-
he shouldn't be around him.
Marco would have just shown up eventually.
Yeah.
I have a feeling too. But your question about Huel and Cuddy, or I think was the other guy's name, I have a feeling those two will definitely be a big part of the show before it ends. And I also think, we mentioned this last week, that Mike's guy, I'm blanking on his name, the guy that Gus slits his neck when he tries cooking meth. I think he'll be a big part of next season too. I think next season you'll see even more characters close to the Gus reign and that sort of stuff become more of a focus as Mike and Saul go more into that criminal world. We're going to see more people we know.
Yeah.
Ren says it depends if I'm guilty or not. If I need a criminal lawyer, I get Saul. Right? It's basically the same thing we were saying. Ren is saying if she was guilty, she would go to Saul, but if she was innocent and needed to be proved innocent, she'd go to.
No,
Oh,
I'm
just
pretty
go to
sure.
Saul.
I'm pretty sure if you need to launder some money, Vinny's gonna know how to help you out.
It depends the kind of case too. Do you think Vinny's going to know the right people to direct you to? It's hard not to associate all Vinny's other movies, I mean all Joe Pesci's other movies with the character of Vinny. You know, like he's going to shoot you in the foot if you call him funny or something.
No, he's just gonna bury you in the cornfields.
Anyway, excellent question,
Your
Justin.
brother beat
Thank you.
Baseball bats.
So off to Mike talking business on the phone as in the booth you hear him just kind of talking, setting up a meeting as Saul enters, and Mike kind of looks out. Oh shit, Saul's here. I'm gonna have to deal with him again. This should be fun. Kind of like double takes on him, and he's heading into the court for the case to kind of take the money, take the thing, and basically go to his life here. And he starts to walk. And
I love how he just drives by Mike. And Mike
drives by Mike. That's what. And Mike kind of does a double take on him. He doesn't really stop. And then he holds the ring, and the Lord Sauron's Lord Marco starts talking to him through the ring. Bring me the ring, Saul. And he puts the ring. And you can
Embrace your true self.
yes, come to the dark side, Anakin. Strike me down. Strike me down. And your transformation will be complete.
No, seriously, it was such the cursed fucking ring, like.
And
they might as well. What would have been awesome is if they, and you're gonna see the meme out there, I'm sure soon enough, with him putting twirling the ring with like the invisible like shit going on from the Hobbit behind him and stuff, you know, like all that.
With Marco's face on the top of Mount Doom. So he holds the ring. No, this is not me. Ultimately, is what I wrote. And he drives out, and Mike, who actually is pretty nice to him here, says, "Oh, that was quick, so no charge." Whoa, Mike!
Yeah, damn.
Mike,
yeah.
You love this guy. You totally love Saul. Yeah. And Mike says, and Saul goes, "Listen, remind me, Joe. Was I dreaming? Did I have $1,600,000 on my desk right here in cash
in front of me? Did that really happen?
That really happened."
Yeah, and the reason why it wasn't a problem for me is because I had a job to do. I did it, and that's all there was to it.
Yeah, but you know what?
When you do other things aside from the job you're paid to do, that's when people start coming after you.
Especially when you're in that business.
If you're not paid to do that job, and you know about this score, and he knew about this score, if Saul was just like, hey, I know these people, they got $1.6 million of stolen money, Mike would have been all over that and went and took it himself, I'm sure.
Yep.
But because he was told in the fashion of being hired by Saul Goodman, he is the kind of guy that's not going to go fucking stab you in the back and run off with that money.
And it's one of those things that we've seen many times about Mike. He's a prepared man, and if he's going to do something, he's going to do it right. If he's going to be a life criminal and make this interesting career choice at this point, he's going to do it and start to build a reputation as someone that he can be trusted. And for your first real criminal mission out there in the world, to make your first one, you sell out this guy. And
yeah, but for $1.6 million, Well, the thing is once you've stolen that, you know that there's a lawyer out there that knows you have it, and he could always say something about it.
A lawyer
for his clients.
A lawyer that, at least at that point, was suffering from a morality complex that he hadn't quite got over yet. Like, and that hurts. You don't want to be in that position with a guy that ultimately, and Mike knows, because he understands where he is at this point, has nothing to lose in suffering from a morality complex.
Yeah.
It's just, it wouldn't be the smart thing to do on any level for Mike. He knew, and he knows it. But Mike was on the take. He was on the take, but he was smart about it. He never would have got caught. He was on the take because he wanted to be a part of the machine, because he knew that was just the way things were. And at least that's how I read it.
He was a smart criminal because he was also a cop.
Right, but like,
if you're gonna be a criminal, at least be a cop too.
But I have a feeling Mike didn't go into being a cop to be a criminal. It's just he's a go with the flow kind of guy. He goes, oh, this is the way business is done. I'm going to adjust to it. If he had gone into a precinct that was on the high,
let's say he's a cop from Philly who's probably been a cop for 40+ years. Puts him as a cop in the 70s in Philly. I'm sure it was not the most straight up, straight arrow police force that there was,
No, but I guess what I'm saying is if he had joined a straight and narrow police force, I don't think Mike would have gone dirty on his own.
I probably agree with you there.
I think he's just I don't want to make waves if this is what everyone's doing. At least we're busting criminals, making a little money.
And you've heard it in a bunch of different movies, cops don't trust cops who don't take the money.
Right.
If you don't take the money, the other cops are going to come. If you turn in all the money, other cops aren't going to trust you.
Now, I want to be clear in movies and TV shows. I don't know how the real life works. I'm not in real life places. I'm not connected to that.
What do you mean? You're not a real life going around robbing drug dealers?
Not that I'm saying on this podcast live. I'm not. Johnny says.
And there are no bags of money buried with those bodies.
There's no bags of money.
I mean, there's no bodies.
Yeah. Don't search behind the third stone in Portland, Maine, behind a rock on a mountain top with a rock that does not belong.
No. Those bones should be gone by now.
Oh my goodness!
Don't look under the rock. Don't look under the manhole cover.
Under the rock that has no earthly reason for being there.
Being there, yes. Don't look there. Johnny says, I like Mike's answers. He doesn't get greedy. He just gets the job done. That's Mike. Yep. That's Mike right there. And that explains a big, again, that's more, I love how this connects to both shows, and it even makes Breaking Bad better because you understand more.
He doesn't get greedy. He punched a guy in the throat to get an extra $500.
That wasn't for that reason.
Well, that was practicality.
I don't think that was for that reason. I think that was it was like Sean Connery in the movie Family Business when he's in back of the truck and he explains that your first day in prison, your first day you want to start a reputation. For anyone that talks shit to me, they get the boot. I think if that guy had just kept his mouth shut, Mike wasn't going to go in there beating the piss out of those guys. He went in, he's like, okay, you're going to challenge me? I don't need you fuckers. I'm just going to make all the money now because you're a dick. And I think to me that's how I took that situation. And I wouldn't want to do a mission with Trevor. Fuck that.
Yeah, no
mission,
Trevor.
No one wants to do that. But what I was saying was, it makes even more sense why Mike has a problem with Walter, because Walter is someone that thinks about things and gets to an ultimate point where he gets greedy, especially after he takes out Saul. I mean, takes out Gus.
Right.
He gets very greedy, and Mike sees it and keeps trying to tell Jesse that this guy's gonna get himself killed because he's greedy and he's too hungry and he has nothing to lose and XYZ. So Mike says, I love Mike says you said something about doing the right thing, and Saul goes, I don't even know what that means. And he also says, I know why I didn't take the money, and that's never going to stop me again.
That'll never stop me again. Then he drives off.
Yep, and starts humming Smoke on the Water as Smoke on the Water comes on the radio.
The ring on the steering wheel.
And he drives off, and I wrote, drives off to become Saul Goodman. Yep. I mean, ultimately, I know this is leading into Season 2, and there's so much I want to see in Season 2, but if you had honestly told me from beginning to end this one season was Better Call Saul and say like next season was Better Call Gus or something, this would be a perfect, complete story of where you could say he becomes Saul Goodman and goes from here. I want to see more, and there better be 3 or 4 seasons or something like that. I'd love to see as much, leading right up into the point where he meets Walter, and even could go further in there to Cinnabon Saul and see what happens in the future. I wouldn't mind that, and I love to fucking see that. But even just this season as a whole works so well from opening frame to closing frame as one complete story.
Yeah,
so fucking awesome.
It really does, because I really would have liked to have tied in that little bookend there. Maybe they make it a 2-season bookend.
Probably. That's probably what they're planning on doing.
Because they don't know if they're going to make it out of season 2 at this point now. They know they have season 2, but they don't know if they got a 3 or a 4 or 5. So they'll press to make this a bookend. So if it doesn't get picked up for season 3, they have a complete story to some degree.
It will be very interesting to see what next season deals with and how far along the criminal train Saul and Mike have progressed.
Yeah.
Ren says, there are no bodies, according to Joe. What surprises me, well, with all the knives to the back of the head and all. Great. And, excuse me. So this is it, Joe. This is the end of our Better Call Saul coverage.
That's so sad, so sucky. I want more Michael McKean.
Such a good show.
I'm gonna miss them both. Him and Bob Odenkirk. I'm gonna miss them both thoroughly. They carried this show so well. Oh my God, Bob Odenkirk did such a good job carrying the show. I didn't think at first he would be able to do it. Here's the thing. It was supposed to be a half-hour show, and it was going to be a comedy. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm ever going to watch that. And then when I found out it would be an hour-long drama, I was like, oh, I hope he's going to be able to do it. I'm going to watch it. And then, wow, I'm floored by his performance. I'm floored by Michael McKean's performance in it all. The writing, the production value is just incredible. The whole thing is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, such a great show. Kate, do you have any final thoughts for this season of Better Call Saul?
I just concur with Joe. I'm extremely impressed, far more than I thought I would be.
Do you know that's Joe? Those are Joe's favorite words in the world. I concur with Joe.
Joe, yes, I knew
Is that more than
I concur.
I concur with Joe. Yeah, and the same thing for me. It's really great to see this team back. Whoa! It's really great to see this. Oh my God, it's time.
A little premature.
Sorry, someone's trying to stop it. Get on, feel it's time. The show's over. No, it's really great to see this team working again and creating a show, and they just hit the ground running. I love the attention the show got at the beginning. I know it ultimately developed its audience by the end. That wasn't quite as big as you got in those first couple of episodes, but it's a very loyal base that I hope will stick with the show, and I hope nothing strange happens, no time changes, no weird stuff. I hope next season, I hope people aren't disappointed because this season didn't end in some giant cliffhanger type thing. I mean, I can understand not being super pumped up about it, but I don't want to see the show get negative fanfare going into the next season because of this. You can be disappointed with it, but not disappointed with the show from beginning to end. It works so well in my mind. Anyways.
Yeah, there's no disappointment as far as I'm concerned. That did end in a bang. I love that the last scene is basically him and Mike, and I love that. I really like the way they did that with the ring and having him go back and talk to Marco and see that part of him. It was done really well, and you could see how that relationship brought him to where he was and where he is. I really liked it. I don't think it needed a big bang. I don't think anybody needed to die. I don't think we needed to see Gus.
Wrong show. It wouldn't. I don't think it would have felt right in this. It would have felt forced in.
Yeah. Absolutely. It absolutely would have.
It would have been like a. I don't even want to say what I was about to say. It'd be like something big being forced in.
Yeah. No. It didn't need any of that, and I'm even fine with it not ending as our star being Saul Goodman.
I think it did, though. Ultimately,
It
Well, no,
did.
without them saying it. I'm glad they didn't
Yeah.
say it. They didn't show him filming the commercial like I thought would be in there,
Mm.
or putting up the sign, or putting up business cards or anything like that.
you know what's something very, very silly, but I would have liked to see this is so trivial and so small, but right as he drove off and we see the last shot, it would have been neat just from a cinematic in a bookend purpose if the title card popped up right there again. Better Call Saul. Bam, like they do at the end of the movie. Just as the final slap across the face. I just think it would have been a cool. You could see it right there, and then we hear the themes, and then it fades from the awesome music that they used at the end to the theme song, but then it ends like sounding like Chappelle Show. Chappelle. It's Better Call Saul. Down.
I can't wait to see this monkey with the machine gun let loose next season. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's a good. I guess that's a good place to cut off. Again, just incredible. Thank you guys for tuning in and being being audience members and watching this show and giving this show the ratings and the attention it deserves by talking about it, because it's a great program and I can't wait to see, as Joe said, where they go from here in this season. Johnny Rico says maybe it was Heisenberg calling Jimmy to the dark side. It could have been. It could have been Walter traveling in time. Actually, he didn't die at the end of Breaking Bad. They put him in cryogenic freeze because they wanted to use his brain to cook blue meth in the future. So and then it was Lex Luthor that did that because he was transferring his body into Bryan Cranston. Because he's like, I should have fucking been playing Lex Luthor, not Jesse fucking Eisenberg. What the fuck is that stupid crap? I should be fucking Bryan Cranston. Eat a dick. But I'm sorry. Everybody, have a good time. We will be back tomorrow night, probably around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a little bit, to do our episode recap of Game of Thrones, Season 1, Episode 6. And
Awesome.
also,
When are we doing that tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night. And also, Joe will tell us a little bit, and at some point we're gonna let Joe talk at the end of the episode. We'll give people warning spoilers about some things he's excited for in Game of Thrones Season 5.
Ooh, so much.
Oh yes. And then
So
everybody, have a good evening. Talk to you all soon. Good night.
Good night.